No way this is actually happening. As one of the biggest storylines heading into this upcoming season is William Nylander playing center. And that may have changed as he has started the day playing the wing. And Craig Berube had some very interesting things to say about Nylander's future at center. Stay tuned for all that in this episode. But before we get into that, quick reminder to hit the subscribe button. We're very, very close to 13,000 subscribers. Your guys' support has been unbelievable. So thank you for that. And make sure to hit the subscribe button if you enjoy the Daily Leafs content. But Darius, let's just dive right into it. A lot of stuff is going on with the Toronto Maple Leafs right now. Obviously, we have William Nylander. We're going to be talking about the center position today. You have the Nick Robertson stuff. We still have preseason games going on. And the focus for this specific video is going to be on William Nylander playing center. Now, we were both big fans of this, especially myself. I was super excited to see him. And my prediction was he's going to play center in opening night against the Montreal Canadiens in about a week's time. But today, some interesting things came out. So you can see here, Maple Leafs lines at practice today include Matthew Knies, Austin Matthews, William Nylander, and this is the interesting one. Bobby McMahon, Max Domi at center, and William Nylander, who was rotated at center. And then you have Pacioretty, Holmberg, Robertson, Lorenz, Camp-Reeves. And we'll get into the lineups a little bit as well, because it does look like a few things here which are very interesting. But Darius, Nylander did take some shifts at center, so the center experiment may not be fully dead, but this definitely lends credit to the fact that I'm not entirely sure they're fully sold on it, because to be moving him this early is a little bit concerning if you're a fan of him playing at center.
Yeah, and we have some quotes from Nylander and Berube this morning, which we'll get into as well. But just based off of this, I'm just confused at this point. I'm not sure exactly what's happening. Now, Domi, I mean, he's played center. We saw it last year. I think Domi's better on the wing. I personally think he's just better on the wing. And for the Nylander experiment to be done this soon, I mean, we were talking about it the last game he got into. We really needed to see him in-game situation again and more often. Then obviously he left that game with an injury. So he needs to get into another game here at center still, I think, to give him a good shot, because center comes with a lot of defensive responsibilities and a lot of things that he wouldn't do normally on the wing. So we need to see a pretty big sample size for him. Now, Domi playing at center, or maybe both of them rotating depending on situation. I'm not sure if that's what I want for my favorite team's second line, right? Like having a rotating center position. I'm not sure that's a recipe for success. So they are trying things. Berube did come out and say that, Nylander's going to have to play wing at, in certain situations this year. And that's just a fact of the matter. And that's fine. But we know what he looks like at wing, right? We know that he can do it. I want to see him at center and what he can bring to the center position. If it's clearly not working, then okay, let's move away from it. But I feel like we haven't had enough time to see if it is working or not. He needs another game at center to see if it's working. So that was a little puzzling this morning. I'm not sure what they were working on specifically. I don't think Max Domi at center works anymore. I think he's better on the wing. It especially doesn't work on the second line of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Like that just doesn't work to me. You need a better second line center in there. But one thing, and if you can bring up the lines again, Nick, very quickly, that stood out to me is if you look at the bottom, the Leafs are going to make some cuts today. And I thought it was very interesting that Lawrence, however you want to pronounce it, is still there, and Cowan and Gurbankin are hanging around as extras as well. So I thought that was very interesting with cuts coming inevitably today or tomorrow. So very interesting stuff so far this morning at Morning Skate.
Yeah, very a lot of things to read into, and obviously you mentioned the Gurbankin account thing. We will have a video as soon as these cuts do occur, breaking those down. But yeah, you mentioned the Nylander thing, and Nylander came out at the start of camp and said how excited he was to be playing center and that he's actually going to be given a chance under Craig Berube. We know the shot he threw at Sheldon Keefe. So obviously they've had these internal conversations, I'm sure. I'm sure William Nylander isn't upset or anything. But he said, it's no big deal. Wherever I end up playing, it doesn't matter. And that was on, of course, William Nylander and Max Domi taking reps as they took reps at center during the practice this morning. So very interesting to me. Again, I would love to see him play center on the second line. We mentioned it before. It adds depth all the way through here. Now, obviously, John Tavares is absent from this, so you could assume that maybe Pontus Holmberg in this scenario would play center on the fourth line, depending who you want to move out, whether that's David Kemp, whether that's Ryan Reeves. Obviously, Ryan Reeves is going to make the team, but maybe might not play opening night. He probably will, but obviously it depends on what's going on. Probably definitely will now after what happened with the Montreal Canadiens, actually. But there's a lot of things moving here, and we'll get into some of the quotes because they're interesting, and there's a lot to dissect from this. So obviously, from Nylander's perspective, he said, it's no big deal. It's no big deal. Wherever I end up playing, it doesn't matter. Even though he was vocal about being excited about playing center very recently, just at the start of camp. And Craig Berube gave some insight. He said, it's a work in progress, is the way I put it. It's not easy to switch it over and play center. It's a lot more on your plate. I think he's done a pretty good job again. Throughout the season, it'd be nice to have a right-handed faceoff guy. We don't have one, so it'd be nice to have him. So Willie will keep working on it. And Darius, I'm curious to see what your thoughts are, and leave it in the comments as well. What do you take from this quote? It seems like they're trying to hedge it a little bit. I'm not entirely convinced now, at least as much as I was a week or so ago when we had our stream last Wednesday, that Nylander is going to be be an opening day center at the second line there. I don't think it's going to happen now, but it's just interesting. The quotes are a little bit weird. It's almost like they're being very hesitant with it because I feel like they're preparing the fans for him not to be playing center, but maybe times will change, or maybe they're seeing more in practice than we are and they don't think he's ready for it. It's very valid as well.
I think that's exactly what it is. They're seeing something in practice where maybe he can't handle it. Just something, the little things, the little details of the position, right? Especially in the defensive zone and through the neutral zone. Although I thought he was a great fit for center, like the way he can transport the puck through the neutral zone and the way he can, drive a line, the way he can enter. His zone entries are really good, some of the best on the team. So I thought it's really puzzling to me. And that quote, like you mentioned, I think it could be a little bit of managing expectations for the fan base because maybe this won't happen and we're just, playing with things. It's still early too. They still have 2 more games to go here. And obviously they're making some cuts and we'll probably see something that's closer to the opening night lineup in these last 2 games. But yeah, it's just a little puzzling for me. We know what Nylander looks like on the wing. From his perspective, I get it too. Wherever you need me, I'll play. We know that he can play well on the wing. His drive, none of that changes, right? Like he's going to be the player that he is. So from his perspective, I could see how nothing, really changes that. But yeah, really odd here at morning skate here. And I would like to see the way Berube said that, because when you look at it on paper, it seems like maybe he's losing trust in this player at this position, just based on, looking at it, the quote itself on paper. But, like I said, lots of runway left. Maybe we'll see something where, he does move back into center. Maybe they're just playing with things. Maybe they just want to see what Domi looks like at center with that line configured that way, right? It could be something as simple as that. It is still early. So I'm not going to, jump to conclusions too quickly, but it hasn't been smooth sailing so far for Nylander at center in training camp or ever when they've tried it. It's really weird. Like as soon as they say, okay, we're going to give this a really solid try, it seems like just 2 days later they switch it and it's like, yeah, we're never going back to that. So we'll just have to see what happens here.
Even dating back to last year and years prior, whenever they tried it with Sheldon Keefe, obviously he pulled the plug early. We saw it in preseason. They also pulled the plug pretty early when he moved to wing. So it seems like they're being very hesitant with it. And ultimately, these lineups are starting to finalize themselves little by little every single day. And I don't want to see Domi at center, just period. We've discussed that multiple times. But if that's what they want to try, it is practice after all. One other thing to note, Darius, I just want to touch on the defense here quickly. Anything stand out to you? In this case, we're obviously seeing Timmins on the third pairing and Liljegren pushed out, with Rafai staying with the group, who's also been very impressive as well. And it's looking like a pretty deep defensive core here the more you look at it, with Riley Tanev, OEL, McCabe, and in this case, Benoit and Timmins. So maybe Timmins is making a final push. He's looked okay. I know a lot of fans out there were letting us know in the comments that they're impressed with Timmins so far. I don't think he's had a bad preseason by any means, and he's sticking with the lineup right now, and he's sticking with the team.
I don't think Timmins has ever been bad since he got to the Maple Leafs. It's just been something where he doesn't have NHL experience, so he's been out of the lineup. And we haven't really seen much of him. So for me, I'm like, I don't think he can earn a job over somebody else who has been in the lineup before, because I haven't seen too much of him, right? But so far this preseason, he has impressed me, right? Rafai too. Rafai has looked fantastic. He's taken so many good steps towards, being an NHLer, and he's probably not going to be this year at, a full-time basis, but maybe in the future, right? Looking at the lines, don't like that second pairing. I said it a couple of videos ago, don't like it, but I don't know. I guess they're trying it. And I think it's very interesting that now Timmins is over Liljegren in the depth chart. Through watching these games, it is clear that Berube likes something about Timmins a lot. Maybe it's the way he can, transport the puck. Maybe it's the way he carries the puck. He looked very good against Montreal Canadiens the other day. He's heavier than Liljegren as well, so that could be another aspect of it too. And he's cheaper than Liljegren. So maybe Liljegren is on his way out. We've been discussing it the last couple of weeks that he is an option. So maybe it is looking more likely in that way, because to me, it looks like Berube loves Timmins. Something about Timmins Berube really likes, and now he is above Liljegren in the depth chart. So pretty interesting. And again, Rafai has been pretty impressive as well, but I don't see him as a full-time NHLer yet.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Timmins replaced Liljegren, and again, they still have to make a trade before opening night, which is now 9 days away, to make a move to make space for Max Pacioretty, who is, of course, going to factor into these lines as well, and he is right there on the third line, which is probably where he's going to be going forward. So let us know in the comments what your thoughts are on this. What do you think all these players are going to factor into the lineup? And what are your thoughts on William Nylander being moved to the wing already? Because what has been a very, very interesting training camp for the Toronto Maple Leafs is almost getting more interesting with every passing day. And again, moves are going to be coming soon in the sense of Grabenki and Cowan, maybe some cuts happening. So I'm going to keep you up to date with that as well. So make sure to hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you guys later.